JLD, you have the most successful daily business interview podcast in the world. 3,000 interviews, 1 million monthly downloads, 7 figures of annual revenue. First of all, a massive congratulations. But how did you do it?
Wow, brother. Well, I want to be that guy you just described. So luckily I am. My name is JLD Dumas. Back in 2012, dude, I just wanted to surround myself with better people. Like, I looked around at the 5 people that I spent the most time with, and between you and me, they sucked. Like, they weren't bad people, David. They weren't evil, but they were trying to better themselves. They weren't trying to be motivated, inspirational, and like positive individuals. They were like Debbie Downers and Don Doolittles. And I was like, how do I surround myself with the right people? And I said, well, let me start listening to some podcasts that are interviewing successful entrepreneurs. And I was like, these are awesome people. It's kind of like I'm spending time with them just by listening to these episodes. And I said, well, what if I could actually talk to them personally and like interview them? And it just gave me the idea to launch the first daily podcast to interview entrepreneurs. And like you mentioned, I'm now over 3,000 episodes, over 100 million listens to date. We just crossed our 90th month in a row of over $100,000 of net profits. And brother, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, so amazing. So you mentioned the revenue there. What are your biggest sources of income through podcasting, and how did you get it?
Sponsorships are big. So, a lot of companies that want to promote their products and services to my audience, which are business owners, small business owners, solopreneurs, people that are looking to get in the game. So I got a lot of revenue through sponsorships. I think last month we did like 75,000K just in sponsorship revenue alone. Courses, we have great courses out there, like Podcasters Paradise is the biggest podcasting community in the world. So we generate a lot of revenue there. I sell journals. So these 3 journals right here, the Mastery Podcast and Freedom Journal, are all journals I've created over the years that sell a lot. Affiliate income. We do a lot of money in affiliate revenue where we promote other people's products and services. But at the end of the day, I won't get too detailed because if you visit eofire.com/income, you will see my last 90 months of income reports. We've never had a month under $100,000, over $20 million total in revenue since 2012. We bring my lawyer on for a legal tip, my accountant on for a tax tip, and life is good.
Yeah. What have you found to be the best way to promote a podcast?
Listen, podcast listeners listen to podcasts. So if you want to grow your podcast audience, you've got to get on other podcasts that are filled with people that should be listening to your podcast. Because listen, the average podcast listener listens to 7 podcasts. So when you're a guest on somebody else's show, you just need to be one of the 7. That's your goal. Like right now, I'm like, hey, David's audience, like if you're liking the content that I'm sharing, check out Entrepreneurs on Fire. Like you're going to keep listening to David's show, but I want to be one of your 7. Listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire. I would love if I became part of your 7. That would be amazing. And every month I'm on a minimum of 20 podcast episodes. By the way, I'm on 19 today, just to give you some perspective. But on an average month, not during book promotion month, but on an average month, I'm on 20 other podcasts a month because I am committed to being in front of the right people. Who are the right people? Podcast listeners, because I want them to listen to my podcast. That's how I win.
Yeah. How do you source your guests, and how much prep do you do before each interview?
My guests source me. So that wasn't always the case. Back in 2012, I had to hustle and I had to ask 100 people for 10 yeses. So it was a lot of work. I'll say the best thing I did back then though was like I wanted to interview successful entrepreneurs. I went to Google and I Googled entrepreneur conferences. And what happened was I could go then to the websites of those conferences, click on the speakers tab, and boom, 10, 20, 50, 100 sometimes, however many speakers were at that conference came up. I could research those speakers and I could say, hey, these are people that are respected in their field that speak on a topic with expertise. They would make a great podcast guest. And if they're willing to fly across the country, of course, they're willing to jump on an audio only podcast in their pajamas and a cup of coffee. Like that just only makes sense to me. And that worked really well. I hit the tipping point where people started reaching out to me to be a guest on my show at a high clip. And, about 5 years ago, I started getting more inbound requests than I even had spots for the show. And as you and I are talking now, I get over 400 pitches every single month of people wanting to be on the show. Wow. And so now it's just a matter of kind of siphoning through those applications, finding the best guests possible and bringing them on.
Yeah. Many of our listeners would have obviously listened to your podcast before, but also heard you drop these bombs on Clubhouse. I want to ask you, JLD, is Clubhouse a threat to podcasting?
Big time. Because listen, there's only so much time in this world. People only have so much time. And when people are choosing to spend their time listening to Clubhouse that would otherwise potentially be devoted to podcasting, it's absolutely going to cut into that. So I think you've got to have a presence on both channels. I think you've got to have your podcast where it's that on-demand, free, targeted content. And then you've got to have a presence on Clubhouse as well. Like if you're going to be meaningfully involved in the audio community, that's part of the audio community right now. And like, listen, there's a huge waste of time opportunity on Clubhouse, but there's also some huge opportunity. So you got to really figure out how you fit in that. And Clubhouse might be gone in 6 months, or it might be, dominating in 6 years. Like nobody knows, but you've got to at least have your finger in that pot.
Yeah. We mentioned that you've been involved with 3,000 interviews. I'm assuming that you've probably picked up quite a lot of tips and gold along the way from having some great guests on. Talk about some of your favorite interviews you've been involved with, JLD, and also what you've learned along the way.
Listen, I love all my interviews because what I do is I bring on people who are experts in their industry. But, it was great last year having Tony Robbins come on for 53 minutes and just chatting with him. I mean, somebody that I've admired for so long, obviously, getting to talk with Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin, Barbara Corcoran. I mean, having individuals like that on my show has always been really inspiring and motivating. So I've always enjoyed conversations like that.
Yeah. And what sort of things have you learned? Because this is a big part of your new book that you've got coming out as well, right?
What I've learned is this. I've interviewed 3,000 successful entrepreneurs. And guess what? When you boil things down, there's 17 common foundational principles that all successful entrepreneurs share. There's just 17. There's not 18. There's not 16. There are 17 core foundational principles that successful entrepreneurs share. So when I looked down and I saw that, I was like, hey, this is a book. This is a book that I can put in chronological order, these 17 steps. Yeah. It can be a step-by-step, 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. Yeah. That was the book. And when I was thinking about like what that roadmap would look like and what that book should be called, I'm like, well, listen, it's a very common path that I've been on, that other successful entrepreneurs have been on. It's not complicated. It's not hidden. It's not secret. It is a common path. But the reality is we've all achieved uncommon success. So what does that common path to uncommon success look like? And wow, to me, it just hit me across the head. I'm like, that's the book. That's the title. This path, this is a common path to uncommon success. This is a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. So I sat down during my little quarantine time in 2020 and 2 hours a day, brother, every day for 8 months. I wrote this book. 480 hours it took me to write this book. 71,000 words, 273 pages. I wrote every single word in this book myself. And it was a passion piece. Like this is the book that I knew had to be written. This book is a 17-step roadmap that will get you to financial freedom and fulfillment. So if that's something you want, this book is for you.
Yeah. And where do people go and buy this?
Brother, I kept things simple. I wanted people to pre-order this book at a high clip because that's what makes a successful book launch, our pre-orders. So I said, what would make a no-brainer for people to pre-order this book? So number one, all three of these journals, the Freedom Journal, the Mastery Journal, and the Podcast Journal are yours if you pre-order for free. If you're outside the US, I'm going to email you a digital pack, a beautiful digital pack of all three. If you're in the United States, I am literally shipping all three of these to your doorstep on me. This is on me. I'm shipping all three to your doorstep. That's just one of the 5 bonuses. You'll also get to check out all 5 endorsements I have, from Seth Godin to Gary Vaynerchuk to Neil Patel, Erica Mandy, Dory Clark. I have the first chapter of the book is free to consume, so you can see what the book is all about, my writing style. Plus, there's a video of me jumping in the pool with all my clothes on, and then telling you all about the book. If you want to see all of that and pre-order this book, uncommonsuccessbook.com. uncommonsuccessbook.com.
JLD, you are the best. We are going to put a link to the book in the description below. Thank you so much for your time. Love talking to you, buddy.
You're the best, brother. Adios.